We're back in Diepsloot, where the situation seems calmer than last week when protests flared up in the area. Residents were calling for President Cyril Ramaphosa to address them. They gave him until today to come listen to their grievances, primarily their concerns over the high levels of crime. eNCA reporter Manqoba Mchunu has been following up on this story. He joins us now live once again from Diepsloot. Manqoba, last week the residents, their leaders, in fact, made it to the union buildings to try and give a memorandum of demands to the president. Today is deadline. Are they planning anything in terms of not getting a response?
Well, Masiko, I can tell you that they're eagerly awaiting to hear from the union buildings as to whether or not the ministers that were said to have been the ones that will be deployed to listen to some of their concerns will be meeting with them anytime soon. And in fact, whether or not they will be meeting with the president himself, he'll be coming to this community. Of course, it's one of the demands that was a part of that letter that was written by the delegation that had taken to the union buildings last week, going to the union buildings to engage the office of the president, to ask and invite the president to come to this community. So they insist, Masiko, that they want the president to come to this community to address their concerns. And if the president does not come to this community, they are saying that the likelihood is that they're likely to go back to the streets. They're likely to continue with their protest. They're expecting that answer from the union buildings today. But as we understand from some of the leaders, they are yet to receive a response. They haven't received one as yet, but they're hoping that they will receive that particular engagement just prior to a public meeting that is expected to take place here this afternoon, where they'll be giving feedback to community members as far as that engagement is concerned with the union buildings and what's going to happen following that. Of course, if they do not get this response, the likelihood is that they're then going to decide on a way forward and what's going to happen as far as this protest is concerned, because last week they decided to suspend the protest to allow this particular process to unfold and to get commitments from government as to when exactly would they be able to come to this community, what definitive answers and solutions will they be bringing to the table, given that one of the complaints also is that there have been no solutions. The solutions that have been offered by the police minister who has come to this community, as well as the Home Affairs minister, are solutions that are not lasting. They are temporary solutions. So they're insisting that they want permanent solutions, and they want those four ministers to engage them and to give them a date as to when exactly the president is going to come to this community. So we're expecting that feedback, Maseko, to happen at 4 o'clock this afternoon, and of course it will decide what happens to this strike. But residents were insisting last week that if they do not get a favorable response from the president, they won't hesitate to get back to the streets.
And Manqoba, in terms of as you go around Diepsloot basically today and you speak to the people there, are they feeling safe? Usually over the weekend, they've told you is when they are most scared, and this was a payday weekend, and I wonder if they felt safe in that community.
Not at all, Masiko. In fact, we understand that there were other incidents that happened in this community, robberies that happened where 2 people were shot. It was a man who was 23 years old who was shot just as he was leaving one of the houses here, heading to his shack, which is just a few meters away from where he was. I think it's less than, 5 meters away from where, or let's say maybe 50 meters away from where he was. And he was actually, shot at by those criminals over the weekend. He's in hospital fighting for his life. There was also a woman who's believed to be in her 30s that was shot also around the same time that this man was shot. And so it tells you, Masiko, just how unsafe the streets of Diepsloot are, especially on a weekend, which is what community members have been telling us, that these crimes are most prevalent during the weekend. And this weekend was no different. There were shootings that happened in robbery robberies that had happened in this community. And yesterday I got a chance to also speak to some community members, just asking them about their safety and whether, the police visibility that we're seeing here in this area is actually doing any different in trying, to make the place a bit safer. And many of them were telling us, Maseko, that they still feel unsafe on the streets. And in fact, these incidents have just, been to them again, sort of like a reassurance that the streets are still not safe yet. They're saying that though there are police here, the police are not getting into some of the places where they need to get to, some of the streets where they need to get to, where the criminals are said to be, staying in those particular areas where the criminal activities are most prevalent in this community. So they're still feeling quite unsafe, Masiko, and that's why they're saying that they're waiting eagerly this engagement that's going to take place this afternoon to get answers as to whether or not there will be government officials that will be coming, whether the ministers are going to come, and whether there will be a solution as far as the issue of crime is concerned. But most importantly, whether the president is going to be coming to listen to some of their concerns. So community members saying that they're not feeling safe at all, even now, Masiko.
All right, Manqoba Mchunu live for us in Diepsloot. Let's leave it there for now.